Now we're on our way to Ben and Jen's house. They've been a part of the church for a while now. Just really jumped in, started serving right away, and then they really hit a hard time in their life. And I think it's going to be an encouragement to a lot of families, a lot of marriages, of what God can do even when things seem hopeless. Let's go check it out. Fellowship Church Invasion. How you doing?
Going on.
Do you love your church?
Yeah!
Do you love us even now, Jen?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You sure you don't want to change churches with us showing up at 8:30 with a camera in your face?
I'm sure.
This is going to be fun. All right. Ben and Jen, you've been coming to church now for 2 years, and God's done an amazing work in both of your lives. It's interesting watching the journey because there are moments in people's lives where they struggle. I mean, it's an all-out battle, all-out struggle. And while you're in the battle, sometimes you don't even feel like there's any light at the end of the tunnel. Like, is God ever going to come through? And then when He does, you look back in hindsight, you're like, God, you were working the whole time. Why don't you just share a little bit about your story, why you love Fellowship Church, and what God has done in your life?
About a year ago, we had separated. Both had filed for divorce. We just felt like there was no hope. Even though we were still going to church, you know, we felt that we could be better off without each other. We could do things on our own. We weren't meant for each other. You know, through the prayers of the church, God spoke to me while I was lying in my bed, and He said, "What are you fighting for? This is what you wanted. You're not fighting for what I've given you."
You had preached a sermon on the fight. One of the things I wrote down in my notes was you spoke and said, "Remember what you're fighting for, and it's not over." And that was your message. So it just totally, between what God woke him up and said and then what you preached on and just everything tugging at our hearts, we just finally surrendered and let God use us.
It was the prayers. It was the prayers of the church, the prayers of my family. And, you know, I called Jen up and I said, "Hey, you know, what are you doing? You know, I want to see you guys." And from that point, you know, we've been plugged into small groups. We went through the Life small group. I was a very selfish person, and I saw that through the Life small group, just how I was always the victim, and then how it was her fault. You know, she was the one that was creating me to be the way that I was. But going through the small group and being able to connect with the people that we've connected through the small group, knowing that other people are going through the same thing you're going through. But what the Life group really did is it brought freedom. I mean, it really did bring freedom in my life. You know, being addicted to pornography and addicted to things that ruined my marriage, God was able to release those bondages, you know. And after we went through the Life group and went through the retreat, I mean, I felt total freedom. I felt like God is enabling us to do greater things as a couple, and being able to push us in that ministry that God's called us in. So being able to lead a Life group, for me it's encouraging for myself, being able to pray for one another, being able to help encourage one another, to remember that, you know, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. We got to keep our eye on what God has called us to, picking up our cross on a daily basis and following Him.
We know that that's part of the ministry, is helping people that have gone through this or going through this, or, you know, just at a hard place in their marriage. It's definitely hopeful.
I strongly believe that the church has helped us get to where we're at today. And if it wasn't for our church, who knows where we would be.
I find it really interesting and hilarious how God takes a couple who was on the verge of divorce a year and a half ago or so, that you saw no hope at all. That God comes, puts some pieces in place, orchestrates your steps, and now you're actually leading a Life group.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, with your marriage healed, with
Amen. Yep.
God restoring you, and now God is using you to strengthen other people.
God is God. God is faithful. And regardless of what direction you go in, He's always going to be there waiting for you. We love our church.